Welcome into your Oklahoma State franchise postgame show. Colby Powell, Donovan Woods along with you, recapping an Oklahoma State loss again in conference play. 2-4 now in conference, snatching defeat from the jaws of victory, Donovan. That's what this team does. I mean, this game was won. It was 31-21 with 8 minutes left. All you got to do, you either get one more first down at the end, you either keep Jalen Hurd in bounds. There's so many things that Oklahoma State could have done. They had to work really hard to lose this game, and sure enough, they did it.
Yeah, we did. It was a bad all the way around. You think you're going to get out of Waco with a win. Everything was looking about like it's supposed to. You had some plays in there where obviously it just kind of had one of those feelings where you're just like, man, we better hurry up and put this game away, or they're going to hang around and end up beating us. And they insert the starter at quarterback. He hadn't played a ton, and he came in and took him right down the field. Obviously, it was a long run, but they got some confidence from that. And next thing you know, we're talking about a Oklahoma State defeat instead of a Oklahoma State victory, which it very well should have been.
Yeah, it definitely should have been. Oklahoma State, I talked about this throughout the game. I tweeted about it after the game. What I tweeted after the game was, I wonder if Gundy gives a rat's ass about having 133 penalty yards. 133 penalty yards. 12 for 133. A.J. Green had at least 60 himself, because I know he had 4 15-yarders. He also got mossed on the game winner by Denzel Mims. Yeah. A.J. Green, who I said last week had the best game of his career, today arguably had the worst game of his career.
Yeah, it's one of those deals you can't. I mean, he's kind of riding the wave right now. He played well last week, and obviously this wasn't his best day with the penalties and obviously the catch there. I mean, guys are gonna go up and make plays, but you want to make sure that you cut out those penalties. You just can't have those things. And it's not just, an A.J. Green situation. There were a ton of other guys who had opportunities to make plays, and for whatever reason, it didn't happen today. I mean, really in all three phases, you have to throw special teams in there with all of the things that, didn't necessarily go right for Oklahoma State in those areas as well. It's plenty of blame to go around, and it's a tough situation right now for Oklahoma State.
Yeah, it is. And again, I have to look at the offensive coaching staff and question what the game plan was coming in. It's a 25-mile-an-hour wind. Taylor Cornelius throws the ball 41 times. 24 of those attempts were in the first half. Justice Hill ended the game with 18 carries, but I believe 11 of those came in the second half. It felt like in the first half when Baylor was doing nothing, Oklahoma State had a chance to take control of the football game, but they weren't giving the ball to Justice Hill. Again, it took them, 3 full quarters to give the ball to Justice Hill. I don't get it, Donovan. I'm past the point of being upset and wanting to rant. I'm past that point to now I'm just like, guys, what are we doing? What are we doing not giving Justice Hill the ball in the first? He's the best player on the field. I feel like we should not have to be talking about this every week. Justice Hill should not be a complimentary piece on this offense. He should be the focal point.
Yeah, and we talked about it on the pregame, and with kind of the work, he gets 23 carries last week. He has 18 today, but you really think, it's just, you got a situation where he's got to have 25 plus, especially when you consider, Cornelius has done some good things at times, but he should not be throwing the ball 41 times. I mean, I don't think this team is at its best when he's throwing the ball 40-plus times. If he throws that ball somewhere between the 25 and 30 range, and even if you're handing the ball off to Justice Hill, and, you're getting stops, it's enough thing. There are enough things that you can do with the naked bootleg game, the quarterback run game, all of those things, throwing it up out there to Tyron Johnson. He did some good things today. He had 8 for, I think, around 90 yards. And of course, Tylan Wallace is still making plays. But I don't think those guys can make enough plays to necessarily win you the ball game. I think Justice Hill has shown that he can win ball games for you if you give it to him enough. And maybe they're just trying to, protect him. Obviously, championships are not being won here at Oklahoma State this season. So maybe they're just trying to, keep him as healthy as can be because, I don't know how many King and Chuba Hubbard had, but I'm pretty sure probably if you put those together, it's probably around the same amount of carries that totaling that Justice Hill had.
Chuba had 10, J.D. King had 6.
So yeah,
and Justice had 18. So yeah, you're right.
So I mean, it's kind of right there. Maybe it's something that they don't want to wear him down because obviously he's going to play at the next level, and they're not.
His legs.
They are, and that's the only reason I can think of for not handing this kid the ball
against the Big 12's worst run defense in Baylor.
Yeah, and I mean, it's puzzling to me. I mean, but you up until that point, 8 minutes in the game, I think you've done enough. You 31-21, and you feel pretty good about those games, but you give up a 75-yard touchdown, and things change in a hurry, and we kind of saw that, and Baylor rode the momentum of that and the insertion of the quarterback, and ultimately rode it to victory. And it's a souring bite for how you thought Oklahoma State had turned the corner, and then they do some good things throughout the game. Tylan Wallace is still doing good things. You know what you have in Justice Hill. You feel like the offensive line is getting going. The defense made enough stops, and you're like, this is a game, we build on the momentum of a Texas win, number 6 team in the country, and then you don't play and win a game like this. It's really discouraging and disheartening. And I don't even know if it's a point to where I'm upset. I'm kind of like a parent. I'm not upset. I'm just disappointed because
that's a good way to put it though.
Because
to me, I'm past the point of waving my arms and slamming my fists.
Yeah.
At this point, it's just like, man, we're really going to do this? We're really going to do this again? Is this what we're going to? Did you feel like Oklahoma State let its foot off the gas in the fourth quarter? 31-21 lead. Oklahoma State doesn't score the rest of the way, and Baylor puts 2 more touchdowns on the board. Do you think they got comfortable with a 2-possession lead in the fourth quarter and let their foot off the gas?
It's 8 minutes left, and up until that point, they really hadn't had a ton of success. They have the block punt and stuff like that, but it wasn't like they were just up and down the field. So I think Oklahoma State was a little bit conservative, and they didn't think the kid was going to make the guy miss and roll off a 75-yard touchdown run. I believe that they probably thought that they had some time. As I'm watching the game, and that happens in a hurry as fast as it does, that changes. And I mean, it's kind of like, taking a punch that you didn't expect to take. You think you got this thing in the bag, you're going to go ahead and let it go to the scorecards, and you get nailed with a big right hand, and they end up getting you out of there. I mean, it's kind of, an analogy of what happened. I mean, they hit us with a tough right hand, and we never recovered, and they ended up, ultimately knocking us out and winning a ball game that we should have won. And I feel like we were better than for the majority of that game. But when you don't come out with the victory, I don't think you can say that you're the better team because you had the opportunity for 60 minutes to go out there and do it. And you didn't get the job done.
That's Donovan Woods. I'm Colby Powell. This is your Oklahoma State franchise postgame show, and we're taking a look at Oklahoma State and Baylor. 35-31. Baylor gets the win. Oklahoma State falls to 5-4, 2-4 in the conference. Baylor is now 3-3 in conference play, and you can see there Oklahoma State had more total yards. Oklahoma State threw the ball much better. Oklahoma State, the graphic here has Oklahoma State listed as 0 turnover. I mean, if you want to count the turnover on the last play, it'll go down in the books as a fumble whenever they're lateraling it. It's the lateral play actually looked pretty decent until they tried to pitch it to one of the big boys, and then the big boy couldn't corral it, Donovan. Skillet hands.
Yeah, it's one of those deals. You hope. I mean, even though you run those plays pretty much every week and you practice them,
they never work.
Well, no, they do, but it's the percentages of them are very low. I thought Wallace was just going to go ahead and catch it and just try to keep on running because, it looked like he had a chance there. But, the percentages of those plays, you see the Mile High Miracle and all of those other plays.
Minneapolis Miracle.
Minneapolis Miracle. I'm thinking about the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah. The Music City.
Music City.
Miracle.
But yeah, I mean those plays they don't have a really good percentage of working. And honestly, it shouldn't have even came down to that.
Shouldn't have. No way.
We should have made plays when we had the opportunity to make plays well before a last Hail Mary, a last ditch effort. But for whatever reason, we did not make those plays, and you know, we've been kind of let down, you know, this season. You talk about the Boise State win, and we come back the next week and absolutely lay an egg. You think about the Pitt game last year, how explosive we looked. We come back out and we you lose to a TCU team that it's just we've kind of been riding that wave of playing extremely well and then coming out the next week and not doing what you're supposed to against a team that you're supposed to beat on paper and in belief of, you know, your team and your efforts and your preparation that you're better than. But like I said, when you don't do it, you say, I beat them 9 out of 10 times. Well, you know, you're not playing this team 10 times. You getting your opportunity, and if you don't go out there and seize that opportunity, that one opportunity, you know, it's squandered, and that's the situation that we find ourselves in. And again, I'm just disappointed, man.
Yeah, and Oklahoma State fans, it's going to hurt to hear this, but the Texas game last week, that was the exception, not the rule. I mean, you look at conference play, throw Kansas out, everybody beats Kansas. Well, TCU lost. It's Kansas. throw the Kansas game out. The Texas game is the one conference game that Oklahoma State came to play. They didn't come to play against Tech, or against Iowa State, or against Kansas State, or now against Baylor. I mean, those are 4 games. How many of those teams are you actually better than? You should definitely beat Kansas State and Baylor. Iowa State's a good team. That one's excusable. 41-17 to Tech, though. I mean, there have been 4 times out of 6 games in conference play where Oklahoma State, I mean, again today, they had a 10-point lead in the 4th quarter, but at what point in that game did it look like Oklahoma State had energy? Did it look like they were playing with passion? Because that's what it looked like last week. Barry Sanders was in the house. It was homecoming. They were wearing the throwbacks. It looked like they were fired up. Today, I mean, it looked like they're running out the clock to the end of the season today. That's really what it looks like. Yeah,
and, you know, I talk about, you know, you say 9 out of 10 times on the game, you know, you beat that team, but then it also goes for, you know, and I say it myself, I think we're better than whatever our record is, and I guess what are we now?
5-4.
5-4. So, yeah, that's about what we are. We are an average football team right now. And it's disappointing.
Yeah, it is. Donovan Woods, Colby Powell. We'll be back after this.
Stillwater Medical Center now offers a convenient way to view your health information online. It's secure, easy, and free. Our hospital and clinic patient portals allow you to view results and reports, medications and allergies, track visit histories, view upcoming appointment information, and see your statements. To enroll, go to stillwatermedical.com and click on the patient portal link near the top right of the page. If you have questions, please feel free to call 405-533-6010.
Welcome back. We're recapping Oklahoma State's 35-31 loss to the Baylor Bears. Oklahoma State favored in this game. Oklahoma State jumped out early with a 7-0 lead, led by 2 scores twice in the second half, and couldn't get the job done. Could not finish it off against the Baylor Bears. It was a comeback for Baylor, and the worst part, Donovan, was the third downs. The penalties on third downs, number one, whether it was pass interference, there was a roughing the passer penalty on third down, there was an offsides penalty on third down. I can't remember all the penalties off the top of my head because there were 12 of them for 133 yards, which is just about unthinkable for an Oklahoma State team, which nearly leads the country in penalty yardage per game. Oklahoma State now, after today, they were averaging 70 penalty yards per game. That was 107th in the country. And then they tack on a 133 today. Oh, man, that's going to back them up from 107th in the country in penalty yardage per game, probably down to about 120 in penalty yardage per game. It's just, I don't remember seeing an Oklahoma State team this undisciplined. It's little offsides penalties. It's hitting the quarterback in his head. A.J. Green today had 2 face masks, a pass interference, an unsportsmanlike conduct after the play. Jarrett Bernard had a pass interference call. Again, Donovan, look, I'm out of carrots. I'm out of sticks. I don't know what to say about the penalties. 12 for 133?
Yeah.
Has John Marshall ever had 12 for 133?
We have. And again,
what do you tell your guys when they have 133 yards in penalties?
It's one of those things where you just have to continue to address it. But here's the deal. Good teams don't go out there and have penalties. Good teams play with discipline. And I think what you're seeing is a product of this not necessarily being a good team. I mean, average teams go out there and get 100+ yards of penalties. Average teams go out there and get personal fouls. Average teams jump off sides, and you're seeing that. And as much as we want to say that and look at all the areas, look at the individual play, look at the play calling and all of that. When you don't win, when you don't get the job done, you have to look at the results of what it is, the product that you're putting out there on the field. And like I said, it's an average product. It's average in the productivity of the wins. It's average in the penalty category, and that's what you get when that's the case.
Yeah, and Oklahoma State now looks at a situation where, once again, you got to get one more to get bowl eligible. We're here in November in Oklahoma State. They had it locked up with the 6th win. It would take a lot of pressure off down the stretch, particularly in that TCU game if you're unable to pull off an upset against Oklahoma or West Virginia. I told you I might see if there are any good movies showing next week during the Bedlam game. The Bedlam game is going to be – it's going to be a rout, Donovan. What's the line on that game going to be? We talked about this a few weeks ago. Now that Oklahoma State's sitting here at 5-4 – and had the display that they had today against Baylor, what's the line next week? Is it 3 touchdowns? Is it that high?
I think it may be.
17 maybe?
I think it's probably 17.
Rivalry game 17.
17, yeah. Boy. And golly, that's
a big
taking
spread.
And that's taking it back to where, when Oklahoma was really good and Oklahoma State was average.
Yeah.
And, it hadn't been that way. Oklahoma State had been playing some really good football, but this year is not one of those years, and you'll get a situation where, you'll have lines like that. But, on those penalties with the pass interference, they're playing a ton more man-to-man, and that happens. Guys keep putting the ball in the air on you. You playing the fade route, playing the go route, all of those things. They're tough to cover, and they call it for the offense, obviously, but you still have to play with the kind of technique that you're coached with and still not get them, regardless of how hard it is and the excuses that some of us and myself, I want these guys to play well, but here's the bottom line. You can't do that. You have to play within the rules of the game, and if you don't, with penalties, with targeting. I thought Tylan Wallace, and I don't know.
It was close.
It was close. And just imagine that's in the first quarter, I believe it was.
It was about 13 minutes left in the second quarter.
Okay.
So it was early second quarter.
Early in the game, he rolls out of that game, and I mean, you don't know what this Oklahoma State team looks like.
Also, Tyler's playing with fire. You remember earlier this season, I think it was the South Alabama game when he got a review for targeting on a crackback block, similar to the one that he had today. And the targeting rule says if you crouch and then thrust in the head or neck area, that's target. That call could have gone either way.
It could have.
Honestly, I'm kind of okay with it not being targeting. I would have been okay with it being targeting. It's one of the. It really could have gone either way, but yeah, you just got to be careful.
Well, you definitely, and I'm looking at this from an offensive coach's perspective. You want your guys to go in there and dig out that safety, dig out that linebacker, and if you're going in there timid or not really wanting to put your face in there on that guy. Tylan Wallace is 180 pounds, maybe, whatever. I mean, he's going in there blocking a safety or a linebacker. He can't go in there without bad intentions. And, I'm a defensive guy. I've been cracked back on by, and that's not necessarily even a crackback block. That guy goes down in there. He better get his head on the swivel.
Right.
The defensive guys
he's running parallel to the line of scrimmage.
The defensive guys need to be coached better. And that's they make these rules and stuff. I know it's player safety, but that's a rule for the offense. You definitely want to protect guys and defenseless guys. I don't think that guy's defenseless. He needs to put some more awareness attributes to his overall player, and his coaches need to tell him to get his head on the swivel. That's not running down on the kickoff or on an interception or something like that and somebody blindsiding you. That's within the box, within the rules of play, and if you don't get your head on the swivel, you're going to get ear-holed. And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing for those receivers going down and taking on those guys. I'm glad that they didn't end up kicking him out of the game for a targeting penalty.
Did you ever have a receiver lay one on you?
Oh, yeah.
Hard? Do you ever remember like a specific guy who got you good?
I still remember it happened in practice, and I was pretty upset about it. In practice, I still remember it.
You came up hot.
I came up and went over, and Coach Gundy didn't know what I was upset about, and he was looking around like, what's got 8 all fired up? And I tell him like, but that again, I think that was on me. The receivers down in there
who
tight.
Hit you?
It was Scotty Broughton that hit me. He was number 81. He was getting some reps there in my senior season, and again, I was that linebacker, and he came down and he really didn't even. He could have really laid into me, but he just kind of gave me a shoulder. And again, I needed to put some more points to my awareness attribute, and I would have saw him. And again, that's something that you coach as a defensive guy. That's something that you tell your secondary guys. I got up. I was upset with the cornerbacks and the safeties who also didn't let me know, crack, because it's coming. I mean, I believe that's in the rules of the game. I believe that's a fair play, and you just have to make sure that you're aware. That's not a play where a guy's going up defenseless or anything like that. And again, I'm glad that they didn't call him for that. And that's something that you just need to coach better.
Yeah, no doubt. That would have got Oklahoma State near 150 yards in penalties in one game. I really can't get over the penalties. That should be a buy or sell. Next week we're doing a buy or sell. Instead of turnovers, we're doing penalties next week. Let's go over the buy or sell. This is the official buy or sell sheet here. And this was, first off, these are some of the best numbers I've ever set. For Cornelius, Hill, and Wallace, I was within 10 yards on all 3 of my numbers. This is also one of the worst bad beats we've ever had on buy or sell. So Cornelius, his number was 280. He finished the game with 287 passing yards because he got some extra yardage on the last play of the game, and that's going to be important here in a minute. We both sold, so we both lost. Justice Hill going over 110. He had 119, and you can see there on the screen Donovan bought that one, so Donovan got the win on Justice. Let's skip down to Denzel Mims, at least 100 yards. Denzel Mims had the biggest catch of the game, but it was his only catch of the game. He was quiet all day long. 1 catch for 6 yards and a touchdown for the big star from Baylor. And then Oklahoma State forces at least 2 turnovers. You bought and I sold. They only forced 1, and it was about 4 minutes into the game. Failed to force one for the last 56 minutes.
That's the first drive of the game, and I'm feeling pretty good.
You said something about it, too.
I did. I'm thinking to myself, like, man, this is – we still got over 55 minutes to play. We got to get at least one more turnover.
Nope.
Nothing.
Not even in the wind. Nothing could do it. All right, let's pull that back up just for a second, that buy or sell graphic, because the important one is, so now we're tied. We're each 2-2. And buying or selling Tylan Wallace going over 120 receiving yards. He was at 89, and he caught a 33-yard pass on the last play of the game to go to 122 receiving yards. I bought and Donovan sold. That's a winner, folks. That is a winner. Put it in the archives, frame it, put it on the mantle. We need to have a trophy made up. I got all sorts of papers over here. That's a winner. That's a throwaway. This is a winner.
Here's the deal.
Right there.
Here's the deal. When you, and my record indicates it, I've been average all season picking these buy or sells, and when you don't take advantage of what you need to take care of in the preparation, you get a situation where on the last play of the game, you don't do what you need to do. And you lose by ourselves. So here I am.
You were Oklahoma State today.
I am Oklahoma State today through and through.
You
and
snatched defeat from the jaws of victory.
Yeah, it's one of those deals where I'm very average right now.
Very average.
Me and Oklahoma State are wearing very similar attire today.
I've still got a chance to make a bowl game. 4-3-1, 4-3-1, 3-4-1 for Donovan.
I think I might be 4-3-1.
Well,
just like you.
We had this controversy.
I gotta go back. I gotta go. I had 4 people tell me that.
So you had people tell you that we got it wrong?
I had people tell me that I was right this time.
We need to go. The problem is I take the buy or sell paper and I wad it up and I throw it at the camera. I do my little Tony Reale paper toss. We got to, because last week we were sitting on the postgame set and we were trying to figure it out, and you said, no, you're 3-2-1, and then you won last week. I thought that's how it went down, but I could be mistaken.
Here's the deal. Let's go ahead and make me, what is it,
3-4-1.
Because if I would have took care of business and won when I needed to win, we wouldn't be having this conversation. So
we wouldn't be in this predicament.
Average deserves, you don't deserve to get the call when you've been average.
That's fair enough. All right, next week is Bedlam, Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. We were hoping for a night game. I would say OSU losing to Baylor lessens the chances that Bedlam is a night game. We'll see what Oklahoma does tonight against Texas Tech. But one way or another, Bedlam a week from today, and then West Virginia in a couple weeks, the final home game of the season. Oklahoma State still needs one more to go bowling. So we'll keep an eye on the Cowboys the rest of the season. 3 more weeks, 9 down, 3 to go. 5-4 for Oklahoma State, 2-4 in conference. For the entire crew here doing a great job as always, and Donovan Woods, I'm Colby Powell. Everyone, have a great weekend.
Stillwater Medical Center now offers a convenient way to view your health information online. It's secure, easy, and free. Our hospital and clinic patient portals allow you to view results and reports, medications and allergies, track visit histories, view upcoming appointment information, and see your statements. To enroll, go to stillwatermedical.com and click on the patient portal link near the top right of the page. If you have questions, please feel free to call 405-533-6010.